We're trying to find the solution to the equations, and notice that I have a fraction. So I'm going to use fraction busters. So I'm going to need to find my least common denominators. So x squared, I can rewrite that as x times x. So my least common denominator is what they have in common. So they both have an x, plus what they don't have in common. So my least common denominator is x squared. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply everything by x squared. So I'm going to end up with x squared. One of my x's is going to cancel, so minus 4x, and both x squareds cancel, and then equals to negative 9. So it's a quadratic, so I'm going to try to factor, so I'm going to move the 9 to the other side. And when you're looking at this, there's no way you're going to be able to factor this. So you're going to have to solve this two ways. You can either A, use the quadratic formula, which is the opposite of B, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, or you can use completing the square. And I'm going to use completing the square because I think it's going to be simpler, only because my leading coefficient is 1. So I'm going to move the 9 to the other side. And then get my middle term, which is negative 4, divided by 2 and square. So I'm going to have negative 2 squared, which is 4. And that is what I'm going to add to both sides. So then I'm going to factor the left. Two numbers multiplied together, that gives you x squared. Two numbers multiplied together, that gives you 4. So I can write this as x minus 2 squared, and that's equal to negative 5. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. My square root and my square cancels, and I'm left with x minus 2. And remember, you're left with a plus or minus whenever you take the square root of both sides. I'm going to move the 2 to the other side. So I'm going to add 2. And then the negative in the radical means that I'm going to have an I. It's a complex number. So my answer is 2 plus or minus I square root of 5.